Hi, I'm Christy Freeman. I am a full-time professional artist. I work mainly in watercolor and mixed media, and one of the medias I use is coffee. I think what happened was I may have been in first grade and my mom took me to the old State Capitol Art Fair, and I saw all the white tents and the artists, and I knew that was the life for me. When I lived in Chicago, I used to do a lot of street fairs, the West Fest Street Fair, Do Division Street Fair, and I was inspired by tattoo artwork. I wanted to create a very large painting of tattoo-inspired, just kind of roses and swallows, and it was really huge. It was like a 4-foot by 5-foot painting, but the canvas was too white. I wanted that parchment look, and I remember back to my college years that we used to use tea to stain the canvas. And as an avid coffee drinker, I decided one day just to throw some coffee on the canvas and see if it would knock that white out. And it did, and the painting was well received. I loved the process. I loved what the coffee and the watercolor did together. And so I just continued using it and experimenting and pushing the boundaries of what coffee and watercolor can do together. I use it on canvas to act as an absorbent medium as well as knock out the white. Normally you cannot paint with watercolor on canvas. If you put a layer of coffee down, the coffee dries and then the watercolor sticks to the coffee. So lo and behold, you can paint on canvas with watercolor, which you normally can't do unless you buy specific watercolor canvas. So that helps as like a double agent. It knocks out the white and it allows me to paint with watercolor. With paper, it just goes, it absorbs right in, and it actually makes some really beautiful stain marks. For the bigger works, the abstracts and the larger animals and stuff like that, I prefer canvas because I can go bigger. But when I'm doing portrait work, paper is the way to go so you can get the details that you want. I'll get up and drink a cup of coffee in the morning, and before I go to make my fresh pot, there's always a little bit left from the day before, and I'll pour that into a mason jar and either collect it. I might have 2 or 3 days worth of coffee sitting in a mason jar, and it seems like the older it gets, the darker it gets. And hot coffee on canvas doesn't work very well either, so it's mostly just day-old coffee. What I do is I take the canvas out into my backyard to my neighbor's delight and cover the yard with just plain canvas, and I'll come out and I'll pour the coffee directly onto the canvas and then let that dry. And I might come back, if I'm not inspired by how the coffee dried the first time, I may come back the next day and pour another pot of coffee on top of the first layer until I get some really cool kind of marbling that the coffee will do on its own. So it depends on each painting how the coffee decides to dry. Right now I have a list of things that I'm inspired by or dreams that I've had. I had a dream of a blue painting with almost like a Patronus from Harry Potter, like a white stag walking through this blue lit field kind of. So I may or may not create that. Most of the times I feel like I'll look at a piece of canvas with the stain marks on it and I'll think, this needs to be a mermaid or this needs to be a horse. But I keep a list of animals mostly that I want to paint. But there's some that, just like the mermaids and the fairies and the fish, those all just kind of come naturally. I'll sit down and have a blank canvas or a coffee-colored canvas, and I'll just start drawing and let it just come out. And most of the kind of more abstract ones that I do are just from the zenning out and drawing.